Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
National Security Minister says police stations will benefit from infrastructural upgrade. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. Welcome back with the details to the news for Thursday, January 30th, 2020. I am Rakisha St. Louis. National Security Minister says work will continue on police stations island-wide as efforts are made to improve the efficiency of the Royal Grenada Police Force. Prime Minister Dr. The Right Honorable Keith Mitchell made the announcement during the RGPF's investiture ceremony on Wednesday. Dr. Mitchell said following a tour of police stations on island, he saw firsthand that drastic measures must be taken to improve infrastructure and equipment used by the force. 4 police stations have been identified for immediate redress.
We moved immediately to attempt to bring some redress to those areas, and I will continue to do so. So the work taking place at the Carriacou police station is an example. The Coast Guard repairs, which will be starting this quarter. The new central exhibit room to be built at the Special Services Unit. And I want to say this, Commissioner and myself have spoken about areas of additional services what we have to do with respect to the SSU unit and the staff that serves there, and the need to make them feel as wanted as possible. Because given the stress related to that area of service, one has to recognize that we have to do what we have to do to ensure that they receive the best support.
Speaking specifically about the Grenville Police Station, Dr. Mitchell said the best solution is to relocate the officers and find land to relocate the station.
I am aware of this situation based on what my colleagues have indicated of the Grenville Police Station. So plans are going to be in place. The only point I really need to make about this, we have to seriously look at the possibility of relocation of that station. Because during my period of service, I know we've spent millions of dollars in fixing that station. And the more we fix, the more it deteriorates. So it seems to me the environment and other factors might be playing an important part in the continued physical state of that police station. So we are looking together with the Ministry of Works of alternative site for a new police headquarters in St. Andrews.
The process to replace voters' registration cards that will expire on January 31st will begin on Monday, February 3rd at the parliamentary elections offices in the various constituencies. Acting Supervisor of Elections, Elvis Moraine, says the necessary systems and personnel are in place. Card holders are required to walk with the expired card once still in their possession, as well as a valid passport or official birth certificate. Mr. Moraine, who was a guest on GIS Spice Morning program Thursday, says consideration has been given to establish a temporary parliamentary elections office in the parish of St. David, possibly in the southern part of the constituency.
We've had the constant complaint about persons having to travel all the way up to around the police station. Oh. That's where the office is. So we have given consideration to establish a temporary office, right, to the southern part of the constituency. So that would be somewhere in the area of Pedmotor area, it was difficult to find. We identified a number of places before, but in terms of access, we had issues, too many steps to climb and so on. So we are at a place now where we are satisfied with that location we get. We are now putting in just the infrastructure. So between now and maybe sometime next week, we should make an announcement so persons will have access. But the people in the southern part of St. David's, certainly there would be another location, right, that we set up temporary to facilitate the process.
Voter and Civic Registration Officer Ferdinand Phillip also appeared on the program. He too is confident that the process will unfold smoothly.
We understand that in 2013, just before the election, there was a massive influx of persons desiring to get the card. However, we are aware that this is not an election year, and the way persons may treat, yes, we do expect a spike, as Mr. Morin said, but not to the extent that we saw in 2013. Nonetheless, as he also indicated, we are observing, we are monitoring the whole situation as of Monday, and if we see the need to up the ante in any area, we will do so.
Mr. Phillip used the opportunity to urge Grenadians who will go through the process to have their cards replaced to please return to the various constituency offices and collect them when they are completed. He says during the last period, hundreds of cards remained at the various parliamentary elections offices. The process for the new cards will commence as of February 2020. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Grenada, it's time to celebrate our 46th anniversary as an independent nation as we prepare for the future through empowerment, growth, and long-term sustainable development. Let's show our true patriotism by participating in the following events. The 46th Anniversary Cultural Extravaganza in St. Andrew on Saturday, February 1st. The National Cleanup Drive from February 1st to 6th. And wait, that's not all. The National Colors Day and Inter-Ministries Competition on February 6th. Then, on February 7th, we head to the Made in Grenada Expo and Military Parade at the Carriacou James Athletic Stadium. Happy 46th, Grenada!
Welcome back. The Grenada Cocoa Association is expected to have improved operations and pay more to cocoa farmers as it cuts back on the cost of energy. The cut in the energy cost comes as the association goes solar at one of its fermentary stations, as we hear in this Mina Booker report.
Grenada's cocoa drying capacity is expected to improve as the Grenada Cocoa Association, through funding and technical support from the Jeff Small Grants Program, officially unveiled their state-of-the-art solar wall drying system at the Moncton Cocoa Fermentary in St. Andrew. Minister of Agriculture and Lands, Honorable Yolande Bain Hosford, cut the ribbon to declare operations at the solar wall drying system open on Thursday, 30th January.
Pleasure is mine. This facility open.
With changing weather conditions in recent years, including heavy rains during traditionally dry seasons, the new equipment allows farmers to rely on more indoor artificial drying, in which air is heated and blown across the beans. This is welcomed news by the Ministry of Agriculture.
There is no denying that the advent of climate change requires of developing states like ours to build resilience, and this project is certainly part of this trust. The Ministry of Agriculture and Lands applaud the pioneers of this project, recognizing that the goal of this project seeks to increase Grenada's cocoa drying capacity in a clean, sustainable, cost-effective manner in order to create resilience against climate change.
This technology utilizes energy from the sun to produce heat as an alternative to burning hydrocarbons. The cooperative will benefit from an increased capacity and decreased fuel costs, according to its chairman, Mr. Christopher Williams. He says this will stabilize the funding source with which they can compensate farmers for their harvest. As a result, he announced an increase in the cocoa prices that will be paid to farmers by the association from Monday.
I want to thank those of you who were delegates at the meeting at Carlton when a decision was taken to reduce the price of cocoa by 25 cents. At the start of the cocoa crop this year, we increased the price by 10 cents. I am pleased to announce this morning that as from Monday morning, the price of cocoa will go back to $1.50 per pound.
The new equipment, he adds, will allow the association to provide a better product.
We are well on our way to the pursuit of projects that conserve biodiversity, restricted use of persistent organic pesticide, capacity building projects, and engage in climate change resilience projects. To this end, the solar drying system, Juve Chocolate Factory, crop insurance, renewable energy, the production of low-cadmium cocoa, and restricted use of farm chemicals are some of our strengths as we go forward.
Chairman of the Jeff Small Grants National Steering Committee, Mr. Trevor Thompson, says the new equipment allows the GCA to make alterations to the entire process for Grenada's cocoa, added to offering an increased price to local farmers.
So the cost of production has been reduced, and these are the projects that we really want to see. It is bringing a change to the whole process. And the success of this initiative will ultimately reinvigorate the cocoa industry by creating a dependable marketplace for farmers. So you have no reason why you should not produce more.
Sandy debates will wash away some as quickly as the next day. But the things we do want to see, these are the pictures that's going to stay. So even if the Prime Minister say hospital workers stiffing chicken boy, don't put that on me painting. I don't like how this thing looking, and we can't pass a bill because Grenadians they like reading. Don't put that on me painting. It seems that we not maturing, and let me paint a picture of a sweet Grenada, where the people could reason beyond politics. Our leaders will have respect in each and every aspect. So what they say and do will never leave us transfixed. Let me go bring the oil down, the strong rum, the spices, the beaches, the sapot, the cocoa, while Indian and Veco to make up for all the pain that we waste. Let us create a new portrait of this place. Like everyone painting to prove their loyalty.
Good morning, Grenada. You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada. A special good morning to those of you listening on 97.5 City Sound FM, 89.5 CRFM, 92.9 Sister Isle Radio, broadcasting from Hillsborough, Carriacou, 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. And of course, a special good morning to those of you who are joining us on the live video. Remember to like the live, share the live, get everybody involved in the conversation. Remember, it's Friday, so it's an open line. All right, we're going to be taking calls from very early in the morning. Let's all be a part of this conversation. The numbers to call 440-7377 for local calls, 440-7377 if you'd like to make your contribution via a WhatsApp message, or 347-329-3101 if you are in the diaspora. Now, this morning we're going to talk about the burning issue on everybody's minds. And y'all know I like to talk, so I'll have to try to restrain myself a lot this morning as it relates to what I'm about to say. I think we're taking this thing way too far. We are going above and beyond with this now. It is becoming a nuisance. We are all concerned I am concerned as an individual. I am concerned as a citizen. I am concerned as a mother. But you don't see me going on Facebook and talking all sorts of uninformed nonsense. We have to stop it immediately if possible. There are people out there who, with their concern, comes a lot of emotion. With that fear, they're doing a lot of things that are hurting a lot of innocent people. I was coming down on the bus this morning, and there was a gentleman on the bus. Elderly gentleman. You ain't gonna find him on Facebook nowhere. But this gentleman is still of the impression that a plane landed in Grenada with 200 Chinese individuals just roaming the streets of Grenada. He is still of the impression that Grenada as a country is unprepared to deal with a case of the coronavirus. Because that is the information that some of you are putting out there, and it needs to stop. Because some of us are going to be responsible for the lives of some people in Grenada, not as a result of the coronavirus, but as a result of the fear that we are putting in them. And they are going to faster die of that fear than die of the coronavirus. We have to stop it. It has become ridiculous. I have been listening to the radio programs this morning, and yes, as Grenadians, we have a right to air our concerns. But some of you are going way beyond the line of concern. We have lost all respect for institution, all respect for people, where we can call radio stations and talk about the entire cabinet dying and talk about the Prime Minister and the Minister of Health of our country in a derogatory manner. How can we as a people feel comfortable with that? And if we are doing it, it gives other people outside the right to do it too. Because we as a people don't even have respect for our own country, our own leaders. So people on the outside, when they do it, why do we want to jump on social media and jump on their backs when we are the ones who set the precedents? We have to stop. It is becoming ridiculous. Listen to your local news sources. They have the facts. Listen to your health professionals. They have the facts. But we jump in on social media and talking about, oh, this person say and that person say. I read a post yesterday that's from an individual who said, oh, well, she has a friend, and that friend came in on American Airlines and there was no screening process. Mr. Frederick sat in this chair here and also in the chair on GBN and explained what the screening process is. So we now are of the impression that because there is nobody standing in front of the door at the airport with a hazmat suit and a thermometer in their hand, it means that we are not prepared. Inform yourselves and stop creating all of this panic. There is no need for this panic. A student in China called GBN only last night. There was a report on it who says that she is more concerned of her mother in Grenada than she is of herself in China. Because she is fine. They are in contact with the ambassador almost every day. But we sit here in Grenada and say all sorts of things about the students in China and how we should bring them back and we shouldn't bring in any Chinese and then it means that we shouldn't bring in any Americans because there are now 6 confirmed cases. And that is what you know of at this point because we don't know who else these people would have come in contact with. You understand? We don't know who else is going to have the virus. While China is the hub, we all agree on that. We all understand that. That's not even a topic for debate. We understand that that is the hub. But the virus is no longer singular to China. Chinese are not the only people that are transmitting the virus. So let us stop it. We have done enough. We have said enough. The past 3 days, social media has been a buzz with people giving their opinions, people saying what they want to say, people running down the leadership of the country in a derogatory state, and it's been enough. I feel like, and I can speak for other people who have also expressed, they have had enough. Why must we do this? Kelvin Frederick sat here and he explained the procedure. And it is a procedure that is not only used in Grenada, but it is a procedure that is used internationally, where they have thermal cameras. These thermal cameras are the cameras that can pick up if somebody is coming in with a fever that is over the ordinary. That is something that is being used internationally. I am at the point where I feel like some of us believe, or some of us are sitting there and waiting and hoping that the government doesn't have anything in place so they can go on to social media and they can make noise about it and they can add politics to it. And it's just ridiculous. We have plans in place. Dr. Martin sat here and he said with his own mouth that there are quarantine procedures in place. We have facilities that are up and running and ready to quarantine anybody suspected of the virus. So why are we going out there? And some of us, it's not that we are not informed. It's not that we don't know, but we choose to have the people in this state because we know that if they are frightened, if they are afraid, if they are condemning the government, then it means that it scores you some political points. And it's ridiculous. And some people may not like to hear this, but it is the truth. Some people may not agree with me, and that's okay. But that is the truth. We are doing too much. We are going too far. I hear people go as far as to run down the healthcare system. Our healthcare system is not the best. Our healthcare system can be better. It has leaps and bounds to go, but it is not the worst in the world. And it can handle this issue. Because this issue has nothing to do with our healthcare system. This issue has to do with each and every individual person ensuring that they take the precautionary measures that is needed so that the virus is not either transmitted to them or transmitted to others. Wash your hands, sanitize your hands, practice good cough etiquette. Make sure that your immune system is up to par. Take your vitamins. That is how you deal with this virus. So we are sitting in our high chairs and making all sorts of educated statements that is full of no facts and scaring people in Grenada for no reason. We have Trinidad Carnival come up. I'm sure that there are a boatload of people here who have already purchased their costumes and waiting to go to Trinidad. But they are not talking about the fact that Trinidad is still having a carnival in the midst of a crisis like this. As soon as they hear it's time to go, they're gone. And they stand a greater chance of bringing the virus back to us than us having a plane from somewhere in China coming. We stand a greater chance of getting the virus from some family member in the US or some family member in the UK. Because remember, the incubation period is 14 days. That means it's undetectable for 14 days. So we could say, okay, fine, close off all flights to China. All flights from China. Let's do that. Let's take that idea into consideration. But you have cases of this virus in the US. So are we going to say, shut down the entire country? Nobody in, nobody out. Does that make any sense? I'll take this opportunity to make a bold statement, and some of you may not agree with the statement, but it's the truth. A government cannot run a country based on the fears of the people. We are afraid. That is a fact. The government understands our fears. That is a fact. The government has put plans in place to deal with this issue. That is a fact. But the government cannot run the country based on our fears. Because if that was the case, we'd have shut down for Ebola, we'd have shut down for H1N1, we have to shut down for influenza. Every little thing that comes our way, we will have to shut down the country, if that was the case. Let us be smart. Let us be wise in our thinking. Let's come away from this place where everything has to be a pull down and a fight down and a derogatory statement, and we have lost all respect for institution. We've lost all respect for individuals. Where we don't have a conscience enough that we go on social media and say all kind of things that we know will scare people, that we know will create panic, that we know is not factual, and we do not care about the lives of the people that we are affecting by doing this. That is the kind of example that we are setting. Mr. Frederick sat here. He explained that the plans are in place. But you see people going on social media saying that our Minister of Health lie. You have people going on social media saying that there's no plan in place. Why would you try to invoke this kind of hysteria among your people when you yourself know better? Why are we creating this chaos? I do not understand. And we have people on public radio and public television sitting and giving their uninformed opinions about these things to hundreds of thousands of Grenadians. And they don't feel any kind of way about it. How can we feel comfortable in ourselves to do that? How can you rest your head comfortably on a pillow in the night knowing that there's some elderly person out there who would have probably gotten the information that you posted and it's wrong? How can you feel comfortable with the fact that there's somebody out there with high blood pressure because you are creating this imaginary case of emergency in your head? Do we have to be concerned as Grenadians? Of course, in the same way that we had to be concerned when there was Ebola, in the same way that we had to be concerned when there was H1N1, bird flu, swine flu, Zika, chikungunya, in the same way. But the fact still remains that because we are afraid, it does not give us the right to create a sense of chaos in the country. It is unfair. We have to stop. We have to take a breath. And I am not angry. I feel passionately about this issue. Because as I move through the country, and I hear people talk, you still have people who don't have the facts. And we, the people with the power to provide the facts, are the ones that are turning around and giving the wrong information. And it hurts me. It hurts my heart that you have an elderly woman whose only source of information is probably the television or it's probably radio. And you have insensitive people calling and talking all of this nonsense. Listen. The Ministry of Health has been very vocal For the past 3 days, they've probably been on every media house in Grenada, talking about the issue, educating on the issue, providing you with the answers to the questions that you have. But some of you don't even care about the answers. All you care about is instilling that fear. Because if you ask a question and you receive an answer, you're asking the Ministry of Health to say something. They have given you an answer. Kevin sat here and he has told you. Of course, he cannot tell you every single detail because of security reasons. But he has given, I think, which was a very okay enough answer to the questions that some of you had. And you're still turning around and say that it's a lie. I don't understand. What more do you want? What more can they do? And as I sit here this morning, this will reach the ears of many. But many will still not believe because they are so set in their ways that they are bent on the fact that the government can never do anything right. They are so bent on the fact that government can't do anything right, that even the right things that they do, still wrong for them. We have to stop it. It is time to stop it. We have had our fun. Some of us have done enough damage. Now let us repair the damage that has been done. This has been declared by the World Health Organization as a public health emergency. So instead of using our fingers and going on Facebook and saying all these wrong things that we don't have a right to say, because it's not true. If it's true, you have a right. Speak the truth. But if it is not true, you don't have a right to say it. Why are we doing this to our own people? We have to be careful. In one of the provinces in China, one man has already been cured, which means that they are working on this issue. And a lot of you may say, oh, well, she's downplaying the issue. She's making it sound as it's not so serious. We have to be concerned. But the issue is not our concern. The issue is what do we do with our concern. The where we channel that emotion, and we are channeling the emotion in the wrong place. If you are afraid, prepare yourself. Let the health officials do their job and trust that they will do the right thing. It's like we're sitting here hoping that this thing fails. We have a first caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning, my dear. How you doing? And good morning to Grenada.
I'm good. Good morning.
All right. So I'm not sure. I think I just looked on Facebook, but I'm not sure if you're asking, if you were speaking about one of the topics which I'm calling to ask about, because I'm hearing that there was some plane that landed 3 o'clock in the morning with a set of Chinese, and the people take them in secretly. Though I'm not sure if that is true. I mean, anything is possible. Anything is possible, and I don't think I have heard the minister or come out and deny it, or the government come out and deny it, or such like that. I don't know if it's true. If it is true, I would like to know that. I as I said, because I called from my phone, I just turned on Facebook, and I'm suspecting you might be talking about that. So I'm not quite sure. That is one of the things I would like to know about. Secondly, this is something that is hurting me in the core right now, the topic that I'm about to raise. Now, I understand that you have persons working. It's not a devotion program. It's the program where I think they work every day. I think cutting grass, maybe cleaning or whatever, but every day. And sometimes for fortnights on end, they're not getting paid. That's what I understand. I'm not sure if that is true. Although I've heard it from multiple persons who I believe is working in the program. Now, I would like that to be clarified, please, because if it's true, I don't think people should be working and not be getting paid. Or if you know you're supposed to get paid every 2 weeks, then you're getting paid 3 months, 4 months down the road or whatever. That's not making any sense to me. So I would just like some clarification on that, please. And if it's true, I don't think, if it is true, I don't think that the government should, if you don't have money, you can't afford to pay, don't hire people, and then they cannot pay. That is if it is true. Because I would not hire someone and I cannot pay them. So I'm not sure if that is true. It is being said. I've heard it from multiple persons. Actually, I know one person who is in the program, and that is the message that I'm always getting. So I'm not sure if it's true, because I'm quite here in the States. They're there in Grenada. I'm not sure. So that I would like, these two things I would like clarification on, please, and have a great day.
You too.
And don't make people raise your pressure.
My pressure hard to raise.
All right, take care.
You too. All right, caller, I'll answer the latter first. I am not aware of anything like that happening. No reports of that has met my desk, nor have I heard anyone speak on it. So I really cannot answer or give an answer to that. What I can do is advise the persons, if that is the case, there's a supervisor, there is the Ministry of Works, I believe, or whoever it is that is responsible for them that they can contact to get some more clarity. But this is the first really that I am actually hearing of this. I can also do my research and find out what's going on so I can give you a clearer answer as it relates to that. But I don't really have any information on it, so I really can't speak on it. As to the former question, a plane load of Chinese did not land in Grenada. There was a private flight that came, that originated from Beijing, that landed at 3 in the morning on Tuesday. That plane carried 8 officials from China. There was clarification given on numerous occasions by our Minister of Health, along with other health officials who would have spoken on that issue. So it is not a plane load. Some people were saying 200 and all sorts of nonsense. It was not a plane load. These people have since left the island. They are no longer here. I believe they left sometime yesterday. Now, as if I'm correct, yesterday they would have left. I believe they came on business. What the business is, I don't know, nor do I care. That's not my business, right? Because we have people coming on commercial flights every day to conduct business. And Grenadians don't go on the flight log and ask every single individual in Grenada what they come here for. So I don't make that my business. It's not my business, nor is it anybody else's business. And if it is their business, when it is time for people to know, they will know. Right? But there was not a plane load of people, Chinese, coming to Grenada. That did not happen. All right, just to clarify, and I hope that brings clarity to what you're really asking, right? But there are measures in place within the Maurice Bishop International Airport, right, that will allow for the proper detection if somebody were to have the coronavirus and come into our country. Now, let us also take into consideration that a commercial flight can come from the USA, and there can be an individual on that commercial flight with the coronavirus. Same as a commercial flight can come from the UK, from Germany, and have somebody with the coronavirus on that flight. Now, are we going to say that every single flight that comes into Grenada on a daily basis we're going to quarantine all these people for 14 days just to hope that they don't have the virus. Is that what we are saying as Grenadians? So we're going to quarantine everybody. Somebody come to Grenada for 5 days, we quarantine them for 14 days. Or we quarantine them for the entire 5 days that they are here. Then what's the point of them coming? These are all of the things that we need to take into consideration. We have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Hey, good morning, Ms. Duncan. How are everything?
Good. How are you?
I'm okay, man. Okay.
All right.
I want to say thanks to the villagers that came out to the meeting last night, to the St. George Executive Branch meeting. This meeting was a success. I'm meeting with a lot of information of development for the constituency and development through the island. I think this is important that to let the people know what the government is doing to bring development and to bring people life, make people life much better. I want to say the parliamentary rep gave a lot of information. Information is taken, and we need to give all that information. That information is important. And we can see what I understand with people. There's some detractors with Duncan, right? They will continue spreading propaganda because they have nothing good. And when they don't care about people, I always care about to bring fear. I always say a role of terrorists is to bring fear in people's lives. If something happens, as he try to give people encouragement and not to make them bring fear upon them. And all the detractors only want to speak negative things, doing nothing to help people better their living conditions. The government, the Ministry of Health, they give us information, and we have to take the information from the real source. Don't take information from people and only want to destroy people and who don't care about people. I want to say it to the government, they do what they have to do. They put things in place. So that's what they have to do. And our country do are putting in place to quarantine people that are playing that coming. Because we cannot close our border for nobody to come in. Right? So then I want to say, let us continue to speak about the positive things. Yes, we have to speak about it because we are concerned. But our government has to do what is right, and they're doing what is right. So, Mr. Duncan, you have a wonderful day. God bless you.
All right, you too. Thank you for your contribution, Colin. I mean, we have to do better as a people. We ask questions. We get answers. And the answers that you get may not be the answer that you want to hear. What matters is that the correct answer? Is that the factual answer? Is it the truth? You know? And it's sad that we are behaving this way as a people. Sometimes I say we come together for some of the wrong things. But we have to do better. I mean, I'm sad this morning. I'm sad when I go on social media and I see some of our people behaving in such a manner that makes you embarrassed. I was on social media the other day. The Jamaican health officials were having a press conference because, of course, there was a scare in Jamaica, the first scare that they had in that university hospital, where they said that one of the doctors would have showed signs of the virus. I went on social media listening to the press conference, and when I go in the comment section, a set of Grenadians in the comment section talking about the Minister of Health in a derogatory way and talking about how they're trying to kill Grenadians. And it wasn't even something that concerned us locally. They didn't even give a chance for the Jamaican people to go into them to the live briefing and ask a question. It was overpopulated with a bunch of Grenadians who don't listen and read and understand things, but they're just there to make a comment. You know, they have an issue, they hear of an issue, they don't read, they don't research, nothing on the issue, but they making a comment. And it didn't even have anything to do with us. I mean, I don't understand why all of this hysteria. Concern, yes. Caution, yes. But hysteria? We just running all over the place, saying all kinds of things. We have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, my love.
Good morning, Miss Jacob. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm top of the world, my dear.
It's always good to hear from you.
Uh-huh.
Always.
Well, some people don't like to hear me. Some people love to hear me. What is that? A lot of people ask me this morning, Miss Jacob, I never call you one day to hear you say you don't. What I had to do in the hole for? The Lord make me see the morning I get something to eat. This kind of thing they go on there, girl. Don't let that, this kind of thing put you off. Nothing to put me off now. Because in the early days, in the 60s, in the 50s, we're talking about coming up when we had years, all kind of disease. I don't think what really know, I never think it's really worse than what really before. Nah, I don't believe that. One at all. And what? Girl are hearing attack, but I don't believe that. They say they what? They put in a case against the Prime Minister. We that should have put a case against them when they was in government. They forget. When they was in government and we had some students in Cuba, nothing to happen to the students, you know. They turn and they say, it's not them that send the students away, so they don't take in them out there. Brother Bowen and the Honorable Dr. Claudius Mitchell was in opposition. And we sent for the students, but now we can't send for them because we don't know what happened. And we had to make sure that we have places to put them. But long ago we had places to put. We put those people, and what? You have a place on the sea. We had 2 hospitals on the sea. We put them out. We have places in Grenada to do that, and we cannot do that. What they don't send for them, they're running up them out. We should have sued them. We should have put them in, give them a thing. Oh, we don't do nothing. We send for the students because it's we that send them and it's government, you know, government we, and they was in government. But what this type of people say, what they running them out so far?
Yeah.
My dear sweetheart, don't let nothing know. And sweetheart, I hearing a piece of news this morning from Andre Donald. They find her head in a barren in the road.
Well, yes, I've heard unconfirmed reports, well, confirmed reports actually, of an elderly lady being found beheaded actually in a barrel.
Yeah.
In the vicinity of River Road.
Yes. And where's the body?
Well, the body is there too. It's just that the head is detached from the body.
Okay. Well, they don't know who's that person yet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, I hope it's not my granny, you know? Oh, God. Girl, if you know how I like that lady, yeah? The lady that gone missing since in January. Huh? Oh,
well, Ms. Jacob, thank you so much for calling.
Yes,
it's always a
darling,
pleasure hearing
keep up
from you.
Yourself because I want to look after my children.
I will. Yeah.
I love you, darling.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Right.
I really want to appeal to us as Grenadians. I was just reading a post where, and I mean, maybe this is not singular to Grenada, but I can only speak to Grenadians. I can't speak to the rest of the region. We have to be responsible as a people. We have a right to be concerned, just as we had a right to be concerned when there was Ebola, just as we had a right to be concerned when there was the influenza, when there was smallpox, when there was swine flu. We still have a right to be concerned. We have things like dengue that's still going around. We have things like influenza that is still going around, that are transmitted. So we have dengue going around. Dengue could at any moment become an epidemic. Are we going to say ban all the mosquitoes? We have to think, take precautionary measures. You know what those measures are. Because we will never know where this virus is going to come from. What really matters is that we, the Grenadian people, are ready if it does. And that is what matters. That is where we must put our emphasis. We could wake up tomorrow morning and hear that there's a British national that came in with the virus. We could wake up tomorrow morning and hear that there is a U.S. national that came in with the virus. What will we do then? Would we say that, well, I spend so much time talking about the Chinese and talking about banning flights from China that I really didn't think that this was going to happen? Is that what we're going to say? Is that really any real justification for us not preparing ourselves? There are people in China who have contracted the virus and have overcome it. Let's take that into consideration. Let's keep a watchful eye on the 6 people in the U.S. who have the virus or who are known to have the virus. Let's keep a watchful eye on them. Let's pay attention to their profiles. Let's see if the virus runs its course and then disappears. Be vigilant. But don't just go all over the place, pulling a story from here, pulling a story from there, because it adds a voice to your hysteria. I am not a conspiracy theorist. But there are people out there who are. And who are pulling stories from here, there, and everywhere about this being conspiracy. And that's what they're looking for, because it supports their claim. And as a humanity, we tend to do that. We tend to gravitate to things that support our claims. So guess what? If you believe that the government of Grenada has no plans in place, then you would gravitate to every false piece of information that states that, because it supports your claim. Every hearsay that supports your claim, you would gravitate towards that. But as for me, I believe that we are prepared enough. I have listened to my health officials. And while this may be a rampage all over the world, and while I sympathize with the people all over the world, as for me and this little rock, I am confident that we will get through this in the same way that we got through SARS, in the same way that we got through Ebola. We will get through this. We have to have a little faith. I am tired of going on social media and seeing only negativity. Nobody is saying pray. Nobody is saying hope for the best. Nobody is saying we're prepared. Nobody is sharing the facts about the issue. I go on social media and I see negativity. and I see fight downs, and I see disrespectful posts, disrespectful comments, condescending phrases. That's what I see. Is that really the people that we are in the face of adversity? Is that really the name that we want to attach to our nationality? This is a time for us to put politics aside and to band together as a people, to be each other's keeper, to ensure everybody is safe. There are people in your communities who probably don't even know what's happening. Have you been informing them? Have you been keeping them cautiously alert? There are people in your communities who don't even have the means to buy hand sanitizer, who don't even probably have access to some soap and water. Have you been doing your due diligence? Or have we been too busy creating a sense of hysteria? And that is what we need to take into consideration. I believe that in the last few days we have done enough. Everybody has had an opportunity to be scared, to be concerned, to be afraid, to be hysterical, to be cautious. We've all had an opportunity to do that. Now, it's time for us to listen, to calm down, and take advice from the relevant sources. You have a concern, you have a query. Tell me what posting your concern and query on Facebook will do for you. When the people on your page are like-minded, and those who are not, you do not even accept their comments because they don't think along the same lines as you. And it's the truth. If somebody says something contrary to what you are saying, all of a sudden they are wrong and you are right. We never see it that way, but that's how it is. We have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, good morning. Just two quick questions. One, where in Grenada is it that there is anyone that don't have access to soap and water? What part of Grenada is this? And if I'm told where that is, I will go right now and drop a couple bars of soap and some water. Please tell me where in any part of the state of Grenada there is anyone that doesn't have access to soap and water. That's point number one. Point number two is I wish to suggest that posts on social media by people who have a political motive, you can't change that. What we need to do in the face of this public health emergency is to educate the people on what has to be done. A one-on-one battle with people who are bent on mischief achieves nothing. But like the coronavirus itself, we are just spreading propaganda and fear. The focus has got to be to educate the public on the science that's available.
Yeah.
And don't make the program a take-on and a battle against people whose only and exclusive intention are political motives. To suggest that the Prime Minister has committed malreference in office and that he should be hauled to court, I mean, that gives you an indication of what you are dealing with. So please, use the program for educational purposes and not a program which inadvertently spreads and feeds upon the panic created by those whose exclusive interest is a political motive. Thank you and good morning.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution, Kola. That's why I said there is probably. We know there are some people who are not in a place where they can have access to some of the things that we have. All right? We know that there are those people. But that takes away from the point. The point is, what we need to start doing, as I mentioned, is to start educating the people that we know don't have access to the information that we have access to. You know? We know exactly what we need to do as a people. It's been said. The information has been given over and over and over. And sometimes it doesn't matter how much you give the information. It is how much the individual is willing to receive that information. And that is what is important. So we have had time to be hysterical. Now it is time for us to listen. Listen to your health officials. They are the ones with the information. They have educated us sufficiently. So we know the facts. And the facts are, the region stands a very low chance of contracting the virus. We have to be cautious as a people. We have to be. Because we never know at which point it may reach our shores, or from where it may reach our shores. And that is a fact. The security system in the international airport has always been up to standard since the Ebola outbreak, as it relates to identifying and dealing with these issues. So because you don't see somebody standing at the doorway with a hazmat suit, waiting on you with a thermometer in hand, it doesn't mean that it's not being done. We have advanced in science and technology. Mr. Frederick was here and he explained fully, and I'm expected to receive a call from him very soon to further explain for those of you who did not understand or did not hear what he said, to further explain what's happening as it relates to the international airport and the screening of persons that are coming into our country. Persons of all nationalities, not just Chinese. You know? And as the doctor said, the majority of the people affected by this virus, or persons who have died as a result of the virus, when you look at their profiles, it's people who have been immunocompromised, meaning it's somebody who has had an underlying condition, whether it may be cancer, whether it may be HIV, heart condition, respiratory condition. These are the people who you find mostly affected or that would have died as a result of the virus. The virus has a 14-day incubation period. And like most viruses, it's run its course in 5 to 7 days. These are the facts. These are the things to take into consideration. So let's not go out there and create a countrywide hysteria on an issue that we can prepare ourselves for. Dr. Martin even mentioned that there is facilities at the General Hospital and a second facility for quarantine if that becomes necessary. So let us stop with the falsities. Let's not put the wrong information out there. Share the facts. Coronavirus is a family of viruses. I see people sharing pictures of the Lysol tin and the Dettol bottle, saying that, oh, well, they knew that this was going to happen. No. It is a family of viruses. SARS is part of that family. At some point in everybody's life, at some point, most of us would have already contracted one of these family of viruses. The difference with this virus is the fact that it's new. It's new to us as a people. So we have not built the antibodies to deal with that virus. And because of lack of education on the virus, you would find it spreading so quickly. These are the facts. But the most important fact in all of this is that as a people, now is the time for us to come together, gather the correct information, and share it with the public. It's our individual responsibility to ensure that everybody is properly informed. We've done enough in the past few days. We have done enough. Now, what I'm going to do at this point, for those of you who still need clarification, for those of you who still need to listen, I'm going to replay that interview with Dr. Francis Martin and Mr. Kevin Frederick. Now, when the time is upon us, which is 12 o'clock, when that time comes, you can still have access, because it's a pretty long interview. So you will still have access to listen to that interview. It will continue on 89.5. And of course, you can still access the live video and listen to what the health officials of Grenada have to say until a new statement with new information becomes available. Let us be wise in our actions and wise in our thinking. And be mindful that there are a lot of people out there who don't have access to the means of information that some of us have access to. So when we go around spreading false rumors, and that's what gets to them, and we don't go back and clarify the statements that we would have made before, what sticks is the misinformation. So let's do the right thing. And let us get the correct information so that we are able to share the correct information. But before I leave you, I have 2 reminders to give to you. Remember, starting Monday, we have the reissuance of the voters' identification cards. Remember, you're going to take a new picture. For those of you who have had an existing card, you walk with the old expired card. You get a new fingerprint, a new picture, and of course, update any information that needs updating. For those of you who have never had an identification card and have never registered, please be reminded to walk with your birth certificate or valid ID, which would be, or valid national ID, that is, which would be like your passport. And the birth paper that you're walking with must be stamped and sealed. Please keep that in mind as we move forward with our lives. because life still goes on even during the face of this crisis. So keep that in mind. And remember, independence is upon us. We have so many activities coming up. On Sunday, we have the church service, and that's going to be held at the Catholic Church in St. Paul's. So remember to participate. Remember, from the 1st to the 6th of February, we have, of course, our national cleanup campaign. We want to invite everybody to be a part of that. We want to invite everybody to go out into your constituencies, your communities, your village, and help clean up your surroundings. It's not just about painting up in red, yellow, and green, but it's about getting your surroundings nice and clean. All right? So we want to take that into consideration as well. So as I leave you to listen further to the information that has been provided by Dr. Martin and, of course, by Mr. Frederick, I leave you with this. We have a right and a freedom of speech. But please also remember that with that right comes a responsibility. So even if before now you didn't have the information, even if before now you were misinformed, the correct information has been provided and will continue to be provided. It is now your responsibility to correct and provide clarity to the people who through you would have been misinformed. I always love talking to you. But in whatever you do and whatever you say, be safe and be secure. We always want to be talking with you and never about you. Please enjoy the remainder of your day. It's been a pleasure. So good morning to those of you joining us on 97.5 City Sound FM, 89.5 CRFM, 92.9 Cicero Radio, broadcasting from Hillsborough, Carriacou, and of course 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. A special good morning to those of you joining us on the live videos, whether it's to Hard Talk Grenada. A special good morning to those of you joining us on 97.5 City Sound FM, 89.5 CRFM, 92.9 Cicero Radio, broadcasting from Hillsborough, Carriacou, and of course 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. A special good morning to those of you joining us on the live videos, whether it's on Facebook or on YouTube. A special good morning to you. Remember to like the live, share the live, call somebody. Let them know that we're having a really good discussion this morning and they should listen. They should be a part of and contribute. This is your opportunity to ask all of your questions, of course, as we mentioned yesterday, as respectfully as possible. Don't give me a reason to have to cut anybody off. We are trying to be as respectful as possible. So you will get an opportunity to answer or to ask your questions and have them answered at some point during the morning. But with me in studio this morning, I have two very handsome gentlemen, Mr. or Dr. I should say, Francis Martin, and of course, Mr. Kevin Frederick. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well, thank you.
Great, thanks.
Wonderful. Well, we all know why you're here. Of course, this is a burning issue for a lot of us as Grenadians, and not just Grenadians, but I think the world on a whole is really at the edge of their seats. We're really uneasy once again as it relates to this epidemic that is the coronavirus. We've gone through the rains. We've had the Ebola. We've had the H1N1. We've gone through it. I mean, this procedure, this process, this feeling of fear is not new to us, you know. But I think that with information, it really does ease the mind of a lot of people, you know. And I'm hoping that people listening are open to the information that they receive, because sometimes we ask for information and when we get it, we still didn't want to receive it the way that it's given.
Oh yeah.
You know, but I'm hoping that, you know, people are open to receive the information that they are getting. So let's just get right into it, because I know the burning question on everybody's minds is, what are we doing, and are we really prepared for an incident of this coronavirus?
What are we doing? Well, I always like to start from the beginning.
Yes.
And just to indicate and sort of confirm that you said that the world is now again on its feet, because for yet another time in our history, a virus had mutated enough to be able to jump from animal to humans,
right?
And not just animals to humans, but are actually being transmitted in between humans. And as you said, we've been there before and we came through it and so on. And because it is a new virus, there are no treatment for it, there are no vaccines for it. But the good thing about this particular virus is that the mode of transmission is in itself a way to protect ourselves, and that is it is transmitted through droplets, touching, wiping your. It's just as how the cold is transferred from one person to the next. Is the same thing, the coronavirus, and hence the reason what we're doing exactly what we would do if someone had a cold.
Right.
That is, we're saying to people, first and foremost, and we need to reinforce that during the program, you must practice good cough etiquette and hand hygiene. Wash your hands for 20 seconds, cough into your elbows, stay within social distance of another person and not go into their personal space, because if they're coughing, then you can transmit the virus through droplets and that sort of things.
Right.
And so that is the most important thing, getting the information out there. But let's deal with the fears of the people. People worried about trans-border crossing, the virus moving from one part of the world to the next, and people are supposed to be concerned about that because that's the public health risk.
Right.
So first, we look to see what our World Health Organization and our regional partners are saying regarding to the risk levels and what needs to be done. So we're in constant contact. The Ministry of Health is in constant sort of daily contact with the or Pan-American Health Organizations or Caribbean Public Health Agency, which gives us the overall science of it, the updates and the guidelines as to what countries' response is supposed to be.
Right.
At the moment, the response says that we should do heavy surveillance at our ports because we think that it's going to come in at a port. So at our health facility at the international airport, we've ensured that we've been there with our nurses, we share the guidelines with them, we train them, we continue to reinforce what we've always been doing anyway, just a matter of reinforcing it. Mr. Frederick will speak about our thermal cameras that was installed and the kind of process that we need to go through if anyone has any suspected symptoms. We've also put together our screening area and our holding area for quarantine if there needs to be quarantine. Or isolation, so to speak, of any person should any one of them have fever or show any signs. So those we have in place.
Right.
Further to that, we are in constant communications with the administration of the airport to be able to send up the passenger flight list.
Okay.
And the list of flights that are coming into the country, when they're coming and what time they're coming, so that we mount an adequate response at our port, at the airport.
Okay.
Within our health facilities itself at the hospital, we've made arrangements to have quarantine areas. We made arrangement to have isolation areas, and the arrangement were not just for one isolation if needs be, but we've also made arrangement if there is a need for mass isolation.
Right.
Let's say there is a whole plane load or something like that that you need to put into isolation. So those discussion has been ongoing. As the virus evolve around the world and as we see what it is doing, we'll be able to mount response as needs be.
All right, wonderful. Now, I know the question on everybody's mind is, is that enough? Is it in collaboration with, or is it in sync with what other countries around the world is doing? Is it up to standard? Is what Grenada doing up to the standard of what is expected internationally?
Well, that is relative, but countries' response would be dependent on so many other things. Countries' response will depend on the economy, depends on their size, it depends on the kind of relationship that they have with. And so countries have a right to respond as they want to respond. For small island developing states and for developing countries like Grenada, our response cannot be the same as that of Britain.
Of course.
But what we do, we rely on the science, and not just on the science, we rely on our public health agency in the Caribbean, Pan American Health Organization and World Health Organization, who constantly updates us as to what small island developing states needs to do. So whatever response we're going to give, it will be in line with what is recommended for small island states like ours.
Now, Mr. Frederick, I want to move to you because I want to hear more about these thermal cameras, because I think a lot of people don't understand really what it's about. They think it's just a camera, somebody pass in front of it and it tells you if the person has a virus or not. So can you explain to us a little bit more about what this technology entails?
Okay, before I do that, let me just echo two important points that Dr. Martin raised. And I'll start with the latter first, when he made mention of, are we doing enough? We are guided by risk communication strategies. As he said, right, it depends on what needs to be done.
Right.
Now, so as we sit here rather, this is our risk communications handbook. That's the guidelines.
Right.
As you would, if you look carefully, we were at level green. That's when we had low risk, very, very low, nothing happening. It's like on the traffic light, all clear, you can drive.
Right.
Now we have since moved to guarded, which is blue.
Right.
Now, and this has been shared with our CAFA network. CAFA had input in it. Dr. June Murray from Pan American Health Organization, who is an expert, who was down here when we did our IHR review and spearheaded that mission. He also had input in this. Now, if we need to move to a higher level, we will.
Right.
So we are guided. However, as Dr. Martin was saying, people must understand that Grenada and other countries in the region, right, tops the prostate cancer rates in the world. But we have small populations. Why? Because it is per every 100,000 capita.
Right.
So it may sound funny. Well, Grenada has just under 110,000 people. The US has millions. China has millions. But yet we are on top. So people must understand the dynamics and profiling of how those things happen. So it's not just that, are we doing enough? We are doing what we ought to do in a systematic fashion. We cannot just jump and do it.
Right.
Now, to answer the question on the thermal cameras, the cameras were installed a couple of years ago, right? We kept monitoring, maintaining. It is good working cameras. As a matter of fact, when the camera was installed, it was just after we came out of Chick-fil-A.
Right.
And we moved to Zika, so it was there during Zika. Right? Now, recently what we did is that we repositioned the camera for better capture. And I am one of the persons who installed, commission and maintain the camera. So I could actually tell you how it works firsthand. Now, when you enter into the arrival area, you will make a right turn. The camera captures you from there. You're not really going to notice what is happening because it's an automatic system.
Right.
However, the camera can scan you from this side. It doesn't mean that you have to be facing head on. It will pick you up from this side when you make that first turn. And when you're coming up, it captures you direct, dead on target. So your forehead is in the camera. That way you're walking towards the camera.
Yeah.
It captures you there likewise. Now, based on the clinical case definitions and so forth, you will then adjust the temperature readings that you're looking for. So let's say, for example, I think it was in Zika, we were looking for something about 35, 36 thereabout.
Right.
So we set it at that, right? So that's what we are looking for. Sometimes what we do is that we may even set it just lower. So once you come in and your temperature hits that mark or it goes above that mark, you will not know, but the nurses will know because the system will alarm. It is going to alarm very loud, but you, the passenger, will not know.
Right.
You may just see one of our nurses come out and ask you to come out of the line, and you might be wondering why.
Right.
But on the back end, that's where everything takes place.
Right.
So, and I read on Facebook, if it is just a facial recognition camera, there are certain things we would not speak about for safety purposes because you have security and safety as well. It's an airport we are dealing with.
Right.
But rest assured that once the camera records your temperature, it dumps your photograph down on the bottom pane.
Right.
The camera can hold up the device rather and system can one device can accommodate up to about 4 to 6 cameras.
Right.
We have 2 cameras at the airport. One closer to the main entrance, that's the doorway, and the other will be positioned up at closer to the kiosk area. So it captures a wider span.
Right.
Now, we also can sit in the ministry and monitor that. It's science and technology now we are dealing with. Dr. Martin can sit in his office and see everything that is going on with that camera. We can review it because, and it does not depend solely on internet, right? Because it will record everything and dump it there for you.
Right.
So a nurse or any one of us with the clearance and the access can then go in and review everything. It makes it even easier now for contact tracing because people were talking about when they leave the airport, what happens.
Yeah.
So, my friend, you cannot really beat the system.
Right.
Because it will record your face and we have that. So we could track you. There's something called likewise the JRCC. We work closely with them. It's a CARICOM crime and security unit like. The JRCC, how they work. Now, we have electronic passports, right? Once you book a flight right now, you must give your passport number.
Of course.
So we know where that is going to be originating from.
Right.
When you go into the transit and everything takes, you are going to be scanned again. Everything coming through.
Right.
I will give you an example. The Zika outbreak, Dr. Mitchell was CMO. Dr. Martin was SMO. We got some information from, he was at the time Superintendent Prince in charge of the immigration. And we got information from the JRCC. That's quite up. So we're talking about they are in Barbados, right? We knew that an African national was sitting in Florida, coming to Grenada. We knew what time, right? The seat number.
Right.
And we also knew where the flight originated from and what flight they are coming in on.
Wow.
We were at the airport awaiting the passenger. And that is serious. Ask Dr. Mitchell anytime. So the people who are doubting the capabilities, we understand why, and it's because they do not know. But like I said, we cannot speak about every security feature or measure that is at the airport. It's a highly secured facility.
Understood.
But rest assured that we have a system. As a matter of fact, I could tell you that when we got our systems, Trinidad had asked about our systems, and Dr. Michelle will share that information with you because we were the first in the entire region to have that type of system.
Wow.
So people will talk and make all kind of statements, but they don't understand what is going on.
Of course. I always say information is power, but of course, we also have to understand that there's something called security, and there's something called confidentiality.
And information management.
Everything can be shared.
Exactly.
But sometimes I believe that as Grenadians, we don't trust our own system. And that is a very dangerous thing for a people, to not trust the system that governs you, or to not trust the system that you're a part of. And we understand that people are skeptical and afraid and concerned, and as they should be, in right. But with all of the fear and with all of the concern, we must still be cautious in terms of the information, not only that we receive, but the information that we share. It's okay to receive information. It's okay to do our research and to share what we've and to read what we've discovered. But it's what we share. Yesterday I put up a post that says that not all information or not all news sources are credible, especially when you're dealing with something that is so international. We can say, okay, well, we sit here and we take information from GBN and MTV and now Grenada and so on. However, when we go on the worldwide internet, you don't know who's sitting behind a computer writing a story. So you may read a story, it may sound good, but the information in it may not be factual. I want to read to you a post that somebody made, and Dr. Martin or Mr. Frederick, I'm hoping that somebody can comment on it, because I thought it carried a lot of weight, and it kind of coincides with something that you would have said. It says, I don't want to read the first part. I'll read the second part that says, furthermore, what news sources can or do you trust? Consider these facts. What's the population of China or Wuhan? The number of people infected per city, the nature of the virus, precautionary measures, recovery rate, age group of the persons who have died, the risk associated with flying our students from Wuhan city when the city is in quarantine, and the risk, let me pull the whole one, sorry, and the risk, and the risk associated with them, and for the arrival in Grenada. And I liked this simply because it speaks a lot to what I'm thinking. There are a lot of factors to take into consideration. We have over 4,500 people worldwide, maybe more by now, that have been infected, yet only 130 people have died as a result. So that leads me to think, what exactly caused the death of these people? What were their age? What were they exposed to? What were their health conditions? All of these things that need to be taken into consideration. It's just the same as somebody who would have contracted, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear this because they don't associate it with the coronavirus, but it's similar with influenza. Somebody with a respiratory illness, a long-term respiratory illness, or an immune problem or immune deficiency, they stand a higher risk of dying from influenza than somebody who is virtually very healthy, and they can both contract the same virus. So I'd like you to just speak on that for a little bit, because it does pose a lot of questions in my mind as it relates to the coronavirus, and if any of these factors are being taken into consideration as well.
That comment, that post is a very useful comment. That individual have been exposed to some really decent information. I mean, Beijing, for example, a city with 21 million people, had 8 cases. This is an extremely less than 0.000, and you could go down the line, percentage of persons that are infected with the virus. The post is also correct in the sense that what we have found is that people who die from the coronavirus, I mean, the World Health Organization posts the profile of these persons. Okay. They were in the similar profile, over 65, have comorbid conditions, like comorbid meaning that they have other diseases with them, hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol, cancers, all those sort of things. And so that were very similar to what we've seen. And it is also true that right now, influenza is causing more of a problem than coronavirus. Influenza is much more fatal than coronavirus right now. Coronavirus is simply getting all this attention because of the characteristic of it. It's the first time this virus has jumped from animals to human. And that's what it is saying. And so as a physician, let me put it in perspective to you sitting in front of me. If right now, looking at you, you get infected with coronavirus right now, or influenza right now, you're more likely to die from the influenza rather than the coronavirus.
Right.
So, I mean, as a physician, I do not understand why all the noise about coronavirus. But as an individual, as a citizen of the world, I can understand the panic around the coronavirus.
So, let me just add to that, right? There were over, I think it was about 35 deaths coming out of Trinidad as it relates to H1N1. Right? I'm talking about very recently, right? Now, and you touch on a number of key factors. The people who died, they were immunocompromised.
Okay. And just break that down for the listeners who don't understand what immunocompromised means.
So, we're speaking about people who have, like an HIV/AIDS patient, right? Because your immune system is already compromised then.
Right.
So, people who have cancers, them kind of people, so right, the elderly people, right. So that is why we keep telling people that you need to practice proper hand hygiene and so on. Now, people are not paying attention, but let me just give you from experience what happened, right. Chick-V came down to Grenada, and I could tell you, came down through Carriacou side. It was around Carriacou's carnival.
Wow.
Yeah. Similarly, Zika came through that channel. Now, what people don't understand is that, but you go into Trinidad, where there is H1N1, where you have more people coming to Trinidad Carnival, what are your risks going down there? And I could tell you, because I'm a member of the Regional Health Communications Network, CARFA, which is the principal body for the region, right, and it's based in Trinidad, they have taken the same steps, the very same measures that we have taken. That is what they have done, and that is what they are advising countries to do. So we are not doing anything in isolation. We are not working in a vacuum. We are working in synergy with our trusted, credible partners. I still access, down to this morning, I got mails from my CDC account. So I get information directly from CDC, from CARFA, from PAHO, WHO.
Okay.
So when we make those statements, we are making informed statements, and when we take decisions, we are taking informed decisions.
Yeah, I think over the past few days, you guys have been very clear as to what measures we've been taking. But like I said, it's how you choose to receive information that really matters in all of this. But you brought up a very good point, and it's something that I spoke about yesterday briefly. We have a tendency as a people to go to extremes first. So there are comments that, we should just shut down all flights from China, and that we should not allow anybody to come in from China. And I guess the biggest scare for everybody happened yesterday when we had that private flight with the 8 individuals coming from Beijing. And I think that what a lot of people don't understand, which is what you rightfully said, we don't know where the virus is going to come from if it ever does reach our shores. We don't know, because there are cases in Japan, there are cases in Germany of people who have not even left Japan and Germany that have contracted the virus from just going to work and meeting with a colleague who has come back from one of those places. You know, we have Carnival in Trinidad, which a lot of our Grenadian people attend. We don't know who's coming from where. We don't know what is going to happen. So our best bet at this point is to be cautious.
Yes.
And to follow the precautionary measures.
Yes. That is simply as it is. Just be cautious and follow. You know, I give that example once, and I have to be cautious about how I give that example again. We know that the virus is transmitted through droplets and touch and cough and sneeze. So it is as simple as this. Just stay away from people who are coughing and sneezing and have the cold. Stay further from this. Don't get into their personal space. And that's the way to prevent it. In other words, even if there is someone, worst case scenario, even if there is someone standing in our presence who has coronavirus, standing in the presence of someone who has coronavirus doesn't mean you will get it.
Doesn't mean you'll get it.
Yeah, just protect yourself from the cough.
A fair example, I had the flu.
Right.
I was down 2 weeks with the flu. I have 2 children, they never got the flu.
Right.
You know, because precautionary measures. Lysol everywhere, stay out of my bed, stay out of my room, and I'm wearing gloves, and we're all safe.
Right.
You know, so I think that's a lot of what we have to think about. We don't know. We can take precautionary measures, yes. The government and the Ministry of Health is doing what they deem necessary to protect its people, but we as a people as well need to take our precautionary measures. We have our first caller on the line, so let's quickly take this call. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
I'd just like to say thank you to the program this morning. It's very informative. It's very reassuring. Concerning the posts that were made to Facebook about banning flights, I would speak for Grenadians when I say that we said that only because of what transpired. Now, let me just break it down just a little bit. The flight that came from Beijing came to Grenada carrying persons. What we're saying is that the minister said, sorry, I'm just kind of hearing myself in the background. The minister said the students are much safer staying put, but you allowed a flight to come in from Beijing. Now, the ignorance of us Grenadians reacting to that, you can't really hold us accountable for that, because we're thinking now about our nationals, our citizens, our brothers, our sons, whoever they may be to us. What we're just saying is, how come some sort of negotiation was not made to have them evacuated if in fact you did, which you did, allow a flight to come from said location? Right? So we're just trying to figure out, how come no sort of negotiation wasn't made to have them evacuated, but you allowed a flight of 8 persons to come in the island at such time? That is where the ignorance with us began, because we couldn't process what we were given, what we were feeding, the information being fed to us. We were trying to make sense of it all. And honestly, it still doesn't make sense that you would allow that to happen, and still our students, our family, our citizens, they're still out there. Now, I understand even they pose a risk to us by just unknowingly contracting something, and we're accepting them back into the island. What we're saying is it's a risk both ways, which somebody should say, okay, we understand your concerns when it comes to the flight coming in. We also sympathize with the families that have their kids out there. There was nothing we could do. All we need is some sort of reassurance. The only reassurance we're getting is not necessarily from the post-cabinet briefing, but from the program that you guys are having, and we appreciate that so much. We're getting much more clarity. We're getting much more understanding, and I just want to applaud you guys for clearing up a lot of the concerns that I would have had. Likewise with everybody, I guess, listening to the program this morning. So I think that more persons should come onto the program and just allow themselves to be filled with such information. Kevin, round of applause to you. You're very informative, you're very factual, and this is what we need in order to gain reassurance. So kudos to you and the team this morning. You guys are doing an amazing job.
All right, thank you so much, caller.
Thank you. All right, yeah, thanks, caller. And the caller's concern are the type of public health concerns that we have around the world as well. It is important for everyone to recognize that ministries of health in countries respond to guidelines and suggestions from the World Health Organizations and the Pan American Health Organization, including our Caribbean public health agencies. Every disease has certain definitions before the World Health Organization asks you and guides you in certain things. And so far, the World Health Organization is not recommending that countries repatriate or countries evacuate their citizens. Now, some countries have done that. Some airlines have also done that. But because of the current risk and everything surrounding the viruses, it is not recommended that we take anybody away from the area and bring them into the countries. Now, I know Australia, for example, has decided to take its citizen but quarantine them in another place for a while. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Britain has decided to quarantine them in a military base for 2 weeks as well. But there is no recommendation that it is not at the level yet where we need to do this, and we're guided by our partners in that response.
I would say I appreciate the caller's comments, and they are making sense, right? At the same time, what I read this morning is quite troubling in that some of the very same people in London who wanted the families come home, now that when they heard that they are going to be quarantined for 2 weeks now, they are somewhat questioning, well, why do you have to actually quarantine them? But it's a necessary evil then, so to speak. Added to that, right, again from experience, and not just primarily what the caller has said, but generally what I'm picking up all day is that people are asking the same question: why did we allow the Chinese to come in? And let me say this, in about sometime between 2009 2010, I was still the communications officer at the Ministry of Health, doing the very same job I am doing now, RISCOM. And I remember we had the H1N1 scare, and the outbreak was in Mexico. We had Grenadian students studying in Mexico, and the population was on our backs to bring them in. We set up now, Mrs. Ann Peters was our Minister for Health at that time. Dr. Emma Harry Thompson was our Chief Medical Officer at that time. Dr. Christine Lagrenard was our Senior Medical Officer at that time. Miss Rosie Bowler was our Chief Senior Health Promotions Officer at that time. So a lot of people who are there now are still around. They could actually say whether I am being honest or if I am not. And let me tell you what happened. Right? Now, a couple people came in. We had to make arrangements down at SGU Grandans campus on the beach. There was this building closer towards the seaside that was used for quarantine. The ministry took a lot of blows for that. Let me give you some factual details here of something else that happened. Now people saying, why should we allow them to come in? Now, during the height of the H1N1 outbreak, 2 cruise ships came to Grenada. They were allowed to dock but not disembark. Right. The ministry, a delegation of tour operators, are talking about taxi and all, even people who was operating the water taxis and so forth, they were up in arms against the stance taken by the Ministry of Health, citing that it had caused them to lose much needed revenue. Now I asked the question, because the virus is now, in about 16 other countries or so, right? The question is, we have cruise passengers who will go to certain ports. So for example, if I am going on a cruise, depending on where I'm going, I will have to travel maybe to Miami to get onto that vessel. If we have 5 vessels right now in Grenada with over 30,000 people so about to come off onto our shores, will the public back us in saying, because we are not sure, you should stay on board and cause us to lose revenue? It's only a question, and it's a hypothetical question, because I have the experience of what transpired during that period. We were cursed. We were insulted by the very same people who are making noise now, because you see, what they will say is that they lost $1. The hotel people will tell you they had catered so much. The roadside vendors, the taxi operators. So that's why I'm saying what we do we do it in a systematic fashion, and we would have learned from our experiences. Hence the reason why we are doing what we know is best to do and what we have been guided to do. So it's a give and take balancing point.
Before you continue, we have a caller that's been waiting on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Gentlemen, good morning to Ms. Duncan.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning, ma'am.
Funny how Kevin just kind of enforced what I was going to say, the comment I was going to say. The Bible said, for the lack of knowledge, the people perish. And, you know, I'm speaking maybe on behalf of the Chinese this morning. And I wonder if we're going back to the days of Bible, leprosy, where we have to ring a bell if we have the disease. And it seems so, because a lot of us is so ignorant, we're so insensitive of other people's feelings. I had a customer 2 days ago, and she came with a mask, and she's saying, people, you know, the Grenadians are telling us so much insulting things, you know, and we have to be mindful that they are people too. We don't know where the virus came from or the disease, and I mean, they are people, and they did a lot for Grenada. So, no, I would really like for someone to appeal to the public at large to be mindful of what they are saying to these people. It is very insulting, and we need to stop it. Thank you.
Thank you. And there is no scientific reason for the decisions that these things that they are saying. There is no scientific reason. I want to point out a major difference between bringing students home from Wuhan and the flight that came. The flight that came was a low-risk flight. We tested them and so on. And these are Chinese nationals who is going to leave in a couple of days. Yeah. The incubation period of that thing is a while.
Days, yeah.
If you bring students home, these are people who are coming home. If they're exposed to the virus, they come here and they're staying here.
Yeah.
That is a major difference and a major risk. So in the sphere of public health and the practice of public health, those are the kind of things we take on board when we make decisions.
Absolutely. And from what the caller is saying, because that is not the first time that I've actually heard something like that. And I believe she's speaking about a Chinese national, somebody of Chinese origin. And there was a story that I've heard just the other day of a lady having to walk around with a mask. She hasn't even been to China in however long. She came from New York City, you know, and she feels like she has to, because of the abuse verbally that she is receiving just for being a Chinese national. She hasn't been to China. She has been nowhere around the virus. She's been in Grenada, by the way, for a while now. Mm-hmm. But just the fact that she is a Chinese national puts, you know, her in a position to be abused, and that should not be that way. Right. You know, it's unfair to these people, for us as Grenadians, to behave in that kind of way. I mean, yes, we are concerned. Yes, we have a right to be concerned, but we also have a right to be considerate. And we also have to take these people's feelings into consideration. Yeah. You know, because as I said earlier, we do not know where this thing is going to come from. Yeah. You know, the UK has a case. Are we going to say, now let's ban all flights from the UK?
Exactly. And
Are we going to say to all the people who would have already purchased their tickets for Trinidad Carnival, y'all can't go because y'all are at risk to be exposed to the virus?
You see, and these are decisions we can take.
Exactly.
If we do that, listen for the backlash. Yeah. So we ought to be reasonable.
Sometimes we love what we hate as Grenadians. We love what we hate. But I think it's important for us to really sit back and just take a breath. You know, take a breath and make decisions. So there are a lot of measures that, you know, a lot of pictures going around of measures to be taken. One of them includes taking vitamin C and vitamin D to improve your immune health and so on. Are those things that the Ministry of Health recommends to its people?
Absolutely. In all of my public statements and when I do my lectures and so on, even we met with the Ministry of Health staff a few days yesterday. And my final parting words to them was tips on how to improve their immune system. And so I'll do the same thing here. First of all, you make sure that you have sufficient sleep. Don't stay up too much at night. Drink a lot of water. But really important is to eat bright colored foods. Any food with colors in it. So your pink, yellow, green, orange. So we talk about your pawpaw and that sort of thing. Those are the foods that actually boost one's immune system. And so this is what I really recommend at this point in time. And avoid the fast foods and avoid whatever, we know what they are. Those are the really important things that we want to tell people that they must and try and use at this point in time. Don't stress yourself too much, because I find a lot of the times when I go out and talk to people, we always like to blame something else for a problem. When there was chickpea, no one wanted to take responsibility to clean up their own backyard. They would say, they even went as far as to say it was not spread by mosquito just because they did not want to clean their own places. So when there is Zika, we blame something else. Now we can simply protect ourselves by practicing good cough etiquette and hand hygiene. And we still don't want to do this. We still want to blame somebody else. We're saying, in order to protect ourselves, stop people from coming in. That doesn't make any sense. As people, we have to start taking responsibilities for our health. And if you do this well enough, not only would you prevent coronavirus, you're also going to prevent influenza and other types of viral illnesses.
Okay, I think it's important, as a mother now speaking, I think it's important for our children to be educated, not just at home, but also in schools, because I may be able to educate my daughter and my son about proper cough hygiene and all of that, but there are people who aren't able to do that. Is the Ministry of Health putting plans in place to ensure that this message goes out to the schools? Because children listen to their teachers. There is nothing that I could tell my son and daughter that trumps what their teacher tells them.
Absolutely.
So is there a plan in place for this to happen?
Glad you asked that, because Kevin, yesterday, we made a decision to put the plans out. Not that we weren't sending information out before anyway. We were sending out information, but sometimes we think that, just this one-on-one personal touch is important. So Kevin, I think, has drafted up a plan for us to go through this, and I'm guided by his plans.
So, and Ms. Duncan, it is important for me to say here that we have a very active, well-organized school health program. So long before coronavirus, you would see our nurses, our health promotion officers. Just last week or so, Ms. Ray Goddard visited the Western District. That's her district. So we have a good interaction with the school network. That is flawless. I could tell you that. So what we decided was to capitalize on that and let the same officers who are in their respective districts do the information sharing at that level. So to answer the question is yes. And likewise, what we are going to be doing, so for instance, tomorrow we are going to be meeting with some of the other ministries. We are doing inter-ministerial meetings in that the same information we are giving here. So we did that yesterday with the staff from the Ministry of Health. We will be doing finance, education, immigration, tourism, all of the ministries and agencies likewise. So don't be surprised if we say that we are going Grenlec, because it happened before. We did airports some time back. So we are always out there meeting with those organizations. And like I said, people will think that we're not doing, but public health is, from my experience and training, there are certain things that, as Dr. Martin would say, you just don't go on stage and start being a flag woman about. Right. No, because you see, sometimes it's so personal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have helped people walking into the ministry who are at the breaking point of committing suicide. But and I have helped someone. I said, do not make that person sign the security book, because you have to tell them what you're going for.
Yeah.
So sometimes we have to do those things undercover, meaning that, so bring you inside and chat with you. I have seen people bottle lunch and even give clothing and so on to people who are nearly at that point of losing it, and we had to take them in our personal vehicle, go out with them, chat with them, and bring them back home. They walk around now good, and they will say, hadn't you done that I would have been a dead person. So not every time that we have to come out there and say that we're doing that, because I'm telling you, it's very, very, very personal.
Yeah. I think that social media, well, not think, but social media plays a big part in media these days, in sharing and receiving information. Has the Ministry of Health put together a plan, if not already implemented a plan, to really flood social media with information? Because what we find a lot is that Grenadians hate to share good things that are beneficial to us. We don't like to share it. But I think if we share it enough, at some point we'll get into the groove. It'll become a routine for us to really share the important factors. Like, for example, I recently received a couple health tips and tips on how to prevent the coronavirus, and safety tips and these things, and I've been sharing it. But I went on social media to see how many of my friends shared it as well.
And how many was that?
Not a lot. Not a lot.
So
it goes to show.
So you see, I shared the program on our Ministry of Health page since we started.
Right.
And we have information package likewise for the airports. And I am happy to that you raise the point about social media. And I'm making a clarion call, and I'm very sincere about it. I'm asking my Grenadian brothers and sisters, regardless to whatever you think, be careful about certain stuff on social media. Now, I saw a story that came from the Ministry of Health in England. And it's just simple tips. Now, maybe because I had the training in identifying those things, it makes it easier for me. But I am appealing to persons to pay particular attention. England, you will never find something like the Ministry of Health England. You will find Public Health England or Public Health London.
Right.
Similarly, you will find Public Health Canada or Public Health Ontario. There isn't a Ministry of Health in Australia. It is not called by that name.
Right.
So if you're going to share information, make sure the source is credible.
Yes.
By looking at those, even logos, because there are plenty fake people out there, right, who will just do something and make you run go with it, thinking that it is bona fide.
Yep.
And we have, at the regional level, we know of instances whereby people took information on social media, they went with it and they lost their lives. That information came up at our closed door meetings. No, I wouldn't tell you which country and so on, but I could just tell you that it has happened. I'm sure Dr. Martin is aware of that. Yeah. So respectfully, trust the Ministry of Health. We are the credible source.
Right.
And I could tell you, be very, very stringent, be very, very cautious in looking at those bits of information, because people will fake those people are even copying logos and put it on to different things and sharing it, and that is wrong.
And it's not hard to do.
It is not hard to do.
It's not hard
but
to
it
do.
It is dangerous. So we ought to be extremely careful.
Right. So of course this is and a perfect example is yesterday morning. Everybody is talking about 250 Chinese coming on the airport. It was all over social media. Everybody got frantic. Everybody was, running all over the place talking about, how could they allow 200? First of all, let's think about which flight is going to carry 250 people into any country, much less Grenada. And sometimes we have to think about things logically even before sharing it. You read something, sometimes we just read something and we forward to everybody, forward to a group, forward to a chat. We just forward it. We don't read, and we are sometimes part of the problem, Yeah. We are sometimes part of the problem. So guys, the lines are open if you have any questions. The number to call is 440-7377 for local calls. If you have a WhatsApp message that you'd like to send us, it's 440-7377. Also remember, we cannot take WhatsApp calls, but we can take your messages. And 347-329-3101 if you are in the diaspora and you would like to ask us a question, as well as posting on our live page. We are ready to answer any question that you may have any concern. What I do want to make a statement on would be our students in China. I know that we have a bit of them over there. And with the lockdown of Wuhan, those that are there, it's not possible for them to leave.
I suppose that would depend on the government, on the administration of the city. But yes, they would not be able to leave because of the lockdown.
Okay, and then there is a risk of them, of course, coming back, because not only do they have to come to Grenada, they have to take a commercial flight
right
to the UK, and then another commercial flight to Grenada. So apart from just the risk of them having the virus and it being spread in Grenada, we have the risk of them sharing it with passengers on other flights. And I mean, that it would never be a good label for Grenada to know that we were part of the process in sharing the virus with others. And I think that, of course, the Ministry of Health, along with Foreign Affairs, and you can confirm that if or deny, would be in contact with them to ensure that they are of good health and share with them, well, of course, the embassy to share with them what tips they need to take in order to stay safe.
Yeah, I mean, I was told that contact was made with them. I cannot give you details of the contact. I was pretty sure. But the good news about this whole situation is a healthy, normal student of the age that I think that they are at, even if they contract coronavirus, they are hardly likely to die from it. And that's because the deaths has been in the above 65 age range and people who have other type of diseases with them. So a healthy young adults, over 90% of the people who contracted the virus recover with no complications whatsoever.
And that's what I wanted to ask, because we have 3,000. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, the incubation period is 14 days, which means it's 14 days that the before the virus can really show itself.
Right.
How many days exactly would you say that the virus would take to run its course?
Generally, these viruses run their course between 3 to 5 days in mild cases, or 5 to 7 days in mild cases, and 7 to 10 days in severe cases. In a healthy young adult, it may even last shorter, because based on the available science we have right now, a healthy young adult will go through the coronavirus similar to what we do with the common cold.
Okay, let me just answer Junior George. Junior George, no, we are not saying that any student has contracted the virus. We are speaking about the possibilities of the students that we have there in China coming back to Grenada, and what risk it can cause in the event that one of these students have the virus. So no student, let me just make that clear, because people just don't like to listen and they just take information half-baked and run with it. But no, none of our students have contracted the virus. As far as we know, all of our students have been in contact with the ambassador, and they are all safe as it stands right now.
Yes, as it stands right now.
We could also say that all options are on the table, but of course we have to carefully analyze what we're doing, because you raise a very, very important point, right? Now, assuming that we are bringing back our Grenadian students and they are transiting, do we know who are the other people coming into that same terminal who are transiting? So even if they get out of Wuhan or China safely, assuming that,
yes,
you have to say spend 4 to 8 hours in Heathrow in transit. Can we safely sit in Grenada here and say who are the other people? Because I listened to something where somebody said that they have an African roommate. Assuming, right, that African roommate, because okay, as far as we know, we're looking at Chinese.
Right.
So what if that African roommate goes to another country and then still end up coming back to Heathrow and mingling and mixing? Do we know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I said that because at our meeting yesterday, we had an emergency meeting that's with CARFA yesterday, and Dr. Joyce St. John, who was one of the Director Generals at WHO, PAO, she indicated that these are some of the things that us as public health specialists need to really carefully consider before we make certain decisions, because and then again, only the CDC in Atlanta and the public health Canada lab that can really test for the virus at this time while we are sitting here. So they can't even test in London as yet.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that is basically a hub to get to. But what I'm really getting to is that, so we have a 14-day incubation period, a 3 to 5 day period where it runs its course, right? Now, we have 4,500 people that have been infected. And this is the kind of critical thinking that I'm hoping that a lot of people start doing. We have 4,500 people infected worldwide. We only have up to 130 deaths. So that really does say a lot. And it's per capita.
And it's per capita, so you can imagine.
You know, so it says a lot. And I think sometimes social media, along with general worldwide media, sensationalizes things a lot. It's not me saying that we don't have to be cautious. It's me saying that, yes, it's an issue. Yes, it's something new. Yes, it's something that we're watching, that the world is watching. But would it be so bad if there was a cure, or would it be so bad if it was something that we've seen before? You know, would there be such a big buzz about
absolutely
the
not.
issue?
No. I mean, from a public health standpoint, I'm just putting away my public health cap right now.
Mm-hmm.
If coronavirus was there before, this particular strain, this experience now, we would not be having it. No one is going to speak about it because dengue is in the region. Dengue is causing far more lethal problems for us right now. Influenza is causing a lot more problems for us right now. And it worries me as a public health practitioner that we have moved our attention away from something that is more likely to kill and something that is currently killing as we speak. There are people dying from this, and everybody's just focusing on corona.
Well, from my research, I've been doing my research, and people have been talking about the influenza, only to know that there have been 89 or so deaths from the people contracting influenza just in Trinidad alone.
Absolutely, yes, there you go.
just in Trinidad alone. So this is not me saying that we don't have to be concerned. We have all right to be concerned because it is something that is alarming. But we also need to be concerned about a lot of other things. So are we going to say, well, we're not going to practice good health hygiene because influenza is not as bad as the corona? How do we even know that?
No, we don't.
How do we even know that?
According to the current science, is the other way around.
It's the other way around.
Yeah.
So it's just basically, at this point, we just need to be cautious.
Yep.
Practice good health practices of washing our hands, using our hand sanitizers, of course, as you said, building our immune system with colored fruits and vegetables. Well, that kind of plays into what we've been talking about all week.
Always, yes.
Go to the market and buy local. Go to the market and buy local, because we pass there every Friday and every Saturday, and we see an array of colorful fruits and vegetables, and we pass it straight and go in the supermarket, or we go in KFC, or we go in in Subway. But I think that it further, puts pressure on the point that we need to start eating what we grow, and growing what we eat. It not just helps with our economy, but it helps with our health as well.
Absolutely.
Keeps us healthy. So guys, well, I guess the program was so good nobody needed to call and say anything. Nobody needed to call and say anything, but we will leave the line open for a few more minutes in the event that you have a burning question that you want to ask. But for the listening public, our students are safe. And of course, as Dr. Martin and Mr. Frederick was saying, trust your Ministry of Health. You guys have a Facebook page?
Yes, we
People
do.
can go onto the Facebook page, and these are the kind of pages y'all need to subscribe to. Subscribe to your local pages, know what's going on.
I mean, and I was telling my family, I said, listen, we have information that the public doesn't have, because when PAHO don't call an emergency meeting or an online meeting with John Public.
Yeah.
They don't even call that meeting with Ministry of Education. It's the Ministry of Health. As we speak, Dr. Tedros and so on, they are on the ground in China trying to ascertain what happens. So we cannot tell you everything at this stage But once the information comes to hand, we will tell you. Yesterday, when we had the meeting, I said that PS and Minister as well as Dr. Charles was in a meeting online, and once they are finished, we would be updated. And that happened. Dr. Charles came because we were reporting some figures, and then it had just changed. So Dr. Charles came and he gave the updated figures. So it's work in progress, and that's one of the principles of RISCOM, is that we have to be consistent, right? Because the information will change, the way it transmits will change.
Of course.
So I mean, we have to be on top of it, and we are on top of it. But likewise, if the public does not trust what we're doing, it makes our work more difficult.
Of course. And with information changing, it means that at some point, something that was said earlier will contradict something that was said later. And I think it really is, as you said, about trust. We need to trust our health officials, that they know what they're doing and that they're doing their job.
Let me give you one quick example. When and we were told that by the WHO RISCOM manager, Dr. Kamahaya. Now she is the person who wrote this book, right? So you see what the mark?
Participant
right.
handbook.
Now, they had gotten it wrong, right? When they first dealing with the Ebola, and I'll tell you how. Now, a lot of the Muslim countries, when you're about to be buried, you are clad in white. Now, in our part of the world, it's what? It's black. Because black is a symbol of mourning down here. If you go just in Trinidad, when the Muslims are mourning, the Hindus and so on, when they are burying people, and everybody is dressed in white.
In white.
Now, so they had used the different color bags.
Right.
Now, in one particular city, the virus spread very quick. You know why? Because the bags that were traditionally used were white. So the children thought that it was okay to mingle with their loved ones. And that's a fact. But you see, Grenadians don't do those kind of in-depth research. And it's basic, it's common understanding. So when they realized that was what was taking place on the ground, they had to go back and recall all those white bags and started using black. Because in that particular place, they know white is a symbol of life and the afterlife, and so people were so these little things, I'm sure many people never knew that.
I didn't even know that.
Exactly. So this little thing, we are aware of it, so that's why we keep saying trust what we tell you, because John public would not get that information, but power would share that with us, WHO would share that with us.
Right.
So that's just food for thought.
Right. Well, I see my mother is here on this live video advertising that she has lemons. Mommy, if you give away all the lemons, what am I going to how am I going to get my vitamin C? But these things are important. We have so many things that we can use here locally. Like you said, our yellows and our orange and pink and greens that we can use to really help build our immune system. Those people accustomed to taking their vitamin C every morning before I leave home, I take my vitamin C, my vitamin D, and my vitamin B12 every morning consistently before I leave my house. Good. So I know that it's important, and of course it's a routine. My children, when I don't remember, they remember for me because they do it as well. And I think that's something that we need to start doing. I know we bash the healthcare system a lot, and maybe it could be more than it is right now, but we need to do a lot more ourselves to keep ourselves healthy so that we don't have a reason to bash the healthcare system.
Right.
If I'm healthy, I don't need to go to the hospital, so I don't know that, that there's a shortage of this or there's a shortage of that. Hypothetically speaking, people, I'm not saying that there is, but I need to say that because some people just take what you say and go with it. But if we keep ourselves healthy and if we do what we're supposed to do, then a lot of the problems, a lot of the strains that we put on the healthcare system can be avoided, and then we can spend more time building the healthcare system as opposed to dealing with the strains that we ourselves that complain put on it.
Absolutely.
So that's very, very important. But I mean, there isn't really much left to say unless you guys have any closing remarks, because the people, I guess, they're so happy with the information that they're getting, that nobody is flooding the lines today. But do you guys have any closing remarks?
Just to reassure the public that the virus, while it is new to us in public health and the world of virology and science, while it is new to us, the novelty of it is what we like, because then again, the research is going to start now continuing as to how to deal with this virus, and I think we're going to get to the bottom of it. But the good news is that the virus and the clinical behavior of the virus is not as bad as people are thinking, and that normal, healthy people will be able to get over it. More than 95% of the people who get sick recover without any complication, and you can protect yourself by avoiding personal space and by ensuring you have good cough etiquette and hand hygiene. Wash with soap and water. Use the alcohol-based hand sanitizers as much as you can. And once you do so, with the clinical behavior of the virus, I believe that, God forbid, if a case or so come in our region, that we will be able to manage it as a public health concern.
Okay. And before I move to Mr. Frederick, I want you to just repeat that statistics again so people understand. Not everybody that contracted coronavirus has died as a result of it.
Absolutely not. More than 95% of people who get the virus live and they recover without any complications whatsoever. It is the 0.000 something percent that actually dies, and those are people who have other disease conditions and the immune system wasn't able to stand up to the virus.
Wonderful. Any closing remarks?
I would just like to encourage my Grenadian brothers and sisters out there, to trust what we are telling you. We have the training, we have the expertise. We have done it before, and we can do it again. And just give us the support that we need, and listen to what we are telling you. And we always say at the Ministry of Health that your health is your responsibility, but it is our priority. So wash your hands as often as possible. When you're handling money, before and after using the bathroom, eating, all of those things, touching different surfaces, and please, people, spirits work if you don't have hand sanitizers. Clock Scott will work if you don't have it. No, seriously. So alcohol will work, right? But wash your hands. Cough in your elbows. Use a tissue. Dispose of it properly. Make sure it is fully inside of the bin. Wash your hands. We cannot overemphasize the importance of hand washing. People go out there and shake hands. I am not saying do not shake hands. What I'm saying is, remember, before you touch your face, before you touch your nose, your mouth, your eyes, and eat and handle food and so forth, it is the proper thing to do. Wash your hands.
Okay. I have a question though. I wonder if you're the right person to ask that question, but I'll ask it anyway. Is the Ministry of Health, we understand the situation in Grenada, where there are a lot of our children, a lot of our families, who really do not have the means by which they can access hand sanitizers and all of these things. Would the Ministry of Health be able to help in that department?
Hand sanitizer is not an absolute necessity. It is just a convenience for persons who have to manage lots of people, like tellers, people at immigration. But under normal circumstances, if you are a person who is not, your job doesn't require you to mingle and contact multiple persons during the course of the day, there is really no reason for hand sanitizer.
Okay, just wash your hands.
That's it. Just be clean.
And would you recommend, as a physician, would you recommend that persons use those, those disposable towelettes as opposed to a rag or something like that?
Yes, I even in my own house, I use disposable paper and cloth because reusing one thing can actually, the term we use is called fomite. That is, someone places a virus on that, and then they leave and you go and you touch the same thing and you get the virus, and that's possible. So just be ready.
And of course, this would also help us to appeal to bus drivers and owners to wipe down your vehicles.
Yes.
Wipe down a little bleach and water and wipe down, help in the process.
Even if a bus driver has a bottle of hand sanitizer that he can pass to his customers, his business is going to flourish.
Right.
Because people will see that, okay, you know what, he is looking at not only his well-being, but he is looking at my well-being likewise. I remember when buses started putting free Wi-Fi on buses, what happens? The ones that didn't have Wi-Fi, nobody going on them. So seriously, bus drivers should actually consider that. And it is going to work. It is going to be a plus for them and for their business, and a plus for us, because it means that they are also carrying our message to their clients.
Okay. And the last question, I promise, Mr. Frederick, I guess, would be able to answer this. Grenadians are a visual people. Is there any way that I've seen other international countries have done it, where they show the process, the screening process, where you can see how the thermal cameras work and so on, so people who still don't even understand what we just said have an idea of what it looks like?
The answer to the question is yes. We have so the storyboard for that is being created, and I think it's very timely because I forget to mention that even our frontline workers, they have been educated and they have been looked after. So now you will see at some point in time our immigration officers using gloves. Right? Now, what will happen is that when they handle your passport, before taking Nazim's passport, they would sanitize the glove. That way, if there were anything on your passport, they will not pass it on to Nazim.
Right.
So I'm just letting people know, because that may be a question somebody might ask you later. So I am telling them now, those protocols are already in place. There are protocols likewise for our ports of entries, not just the airport. I'm speaking about the yachting, because we are a yachting destination, right? And funny, everybody talk about Chinese coming in on plane. We have yachts.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We need to broaden our horizons in
Yeah.
in dealing with things like that, and not just get too emotional. I would support people. You need to be concerned.
Yeah.
You have a right, and do not think that because we are telling you what we are telling you, that you do not have a right to be concerned. Share your concerns with us, because it's because of your concerns it will empower us to do more and to address your concerns and help you in allaying all fears. So yes, that is being done, and so we're hoping to actually have it out maybe by about Friday or so. But we are running here because we get calls, right? Calls for information, calls for for interviews and so forth. But we are doing what we can, and that video will be out shortly.
Oh, and there was a concern about Carriacou and PG-Matic, and of course it would be bad of me not to ask, because as you mentioned, we in order for a case from China to get to Grenada, to get to Carriacou, they have to come through Grenada first, so they'll be checked in. But we're talking about yachts, as you mentioned. We do have people on yachts going to Carriacou and so on. What procedures, or are the same procedures being used in Carriacou and PG-Matic as well?
You have ship declarations and so forth. So the ship declaration is more of a kind of detailed kind of a thing. So it's still not the cruise industry, they have what we would call a more rigorous system.
Right.
Yeah. Plenty checks and balances. And that's why I said when the ministry took and unfortunately it was a good decision we took back in around 2009 thereabout, because when that ship went Barbados, everyone on board was infected.
Wow.
So it says here, you may not understand why we are doing what we are doing, but we are doing it for your benefit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it really has been a pleasure speaking with you guys. I think it has been, and not just me, but the callers and the comments, a very informative session. I have learned a lot, and I'm sure that everybody else has learned a lot as a result of this. I'm hoping that the message reaches as many people as possible so that we all get a better understanding. And just the same way that you've been sharing that 250 passengers come from China, or that the government of Grenada not doing anything for the Chinese students, in that same way, we are asking you to share this program so that other people have an idea as to what is happening, and so other people are educated. I have it via WhatsApp. I have shared it with all my contacts. When it comes to your phone, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with everybody else. This is not me asking for you to share it so I can get coverage, or asking for you to share it so our ratings go up. No, this is an appeal for you to share it so that everybody can be educated on what is happening, because we all need to be educated. So thank you so much, guys. Yes. I see my technician laughing hell hard in the back there. Hell hard. If you see what he's laughing at. But it's a pleasure having you guys. It's really been an informative session. We're going to take a short break, and then we will be back with some more information for you as it relates to the recent events. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you again.
National Security Minister says police stations will benefit from infrastructural upgrade. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. Welcome back with the details to the news for Thursday, January 30th, 2020. I am Rakisha St. Louis. National Security Minister says work will continue on police stations island-wide as efforts are made to improve the efficiency of the Royal Grenada Police Force. Prime Minister Dr. The Right Honorable Keith Mitchell made the announcement during the RGPF's investiture ceremony on Wednesday. Dr. Mitchell said following a tour of police stations on island, he saw firsthand that drastic measures must be taken to improve infrastructure and equipment used by the force. 4 police stations have been identified for immediate redress.
We moved immediately to attempt to bring some redress to those areas. And I will continue to do so. So the work taking place at the Carriacou police station is an example. The Coast Guard repairs, which will be starting this quarter. The new central exhibit room to be built at the Special Services Unit. And I want to say this, Commissioner and myself have spoken about areas of additional services what we have to do with respect to the SSU unit and the staff that serves there, and the need to make them feel as wanted as possible. Because given the stress related to that area of service, one has to recognize that we have to do what we have to do to ensure that they receive the best support.
Speaking specifically about the Grenville Police Station, Dr. Mitchell said the best solution is to relocate the officers and find land to relocate the station.
I am aware of this situation based on what my colleagues have indicated of the Grenville Police Station. So plans are going to be in place. The only point I really need to make about this, we have to seriously look at the possibility of relocation of that station. Because during my period of service, I know we've spent millions of dollars in fixing that station. And the more we fix, the more it deteriorates. So it seems to me the environment and other factors might be playing an important part in the continued physical state of that police station. So we are looking together with the Ministry of Works of alternative site for a new police headquarters in St. Andrews.
The process to replace voters' registration cards that will expire on January 31st will begin on Monday, February 3rd at the parliamentary elections offices in the various constituencies. Acting Supervisor of Elections, Elvis Moraine, says the necessary systems and personnel are in place. Cardholders are required to walk with the expired card once still in their possession, as well as a valid passport or official birth certificate. Mr. Moraine, who was a guest on GIS Spice Morning program Thursday, says consideration has been given to establish a temporary parliamentary elections office in the parish of St. David, possibly in the southern part of the constituency.
We've had the constant complaint about persons having to travel all the way up to around the police station. That's where the office is. So we have given consideration to establish a temporary office, right, to the southern part of the constituency. So that would be somewhere in the area of Pedmonton area. It was difficult to find. We identified a number of places before, but in terms of access, we had issues, too many steps to climb and so on. So we are at a place now where we are satisfied with that location we get. We are now putting in just the infrastructure. So between now and maybe sometime next week, we should make an announcement so persons will have access. But the people in the southern part of St. David, certainly there would be another location, right, that we set up temporary to facilitate the process.
Voter and Civic Registration Officer Ferdinand Phillip also appeared on the program. He too is confident that the process will unfold smoothly.
We understand that in 2013, just before the election, there was a massive influx of persons desiring to get the card. However, we are aware that this is not an election year, and the way persons may treat, yes, we do expect a spike, as Mr. Morin said, but not to the extent that we saw in 2013. Nonetheless, as he also indicated, we are observing, we are monitoring the whole situation as of Monday. And if we see the need to up the ante in any area, we will do so.
Mr. Phillip used the opportunity to urge Grenadians who will go through the process to have their cards replaced to please return to the various constituency offices and collect them when they are completed. He says during the last period, hundreds of cards remained at the various parliamentary elections offices. The process for the new cards will commence as of February 2020. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Grenada, it's time to celebrate our 46th anniversary as an independent nation. As we prepare for the future through empowerment, growth, and long-term sustainable development, let's show our true patriotism by participating in the following events. The 46th anniversary cultural extravaganza in St. Andrew on Saturday, February 1st. The National Cleanup Drive from February 1st to 6th. And wait, that's not all. The National Colors Day and Inter-Ministries Competition on February 6th. Then, on February 7th, we head to the Made in Grenada Expo and Military Parade at the Karani James Athletic Stadium. Happy 46th, Grenada!
Welcome back. The Grenada Cocoa Association is expected to have improved operations and pay more to cocoa farmers as it cuts back on the cost of energy. The cut in the energy cost comes as the association goes solar at one of its fermentary stations, as we hear in this Mina Booker report.
Grenada's cocoa drying capacity is expected to improve as the Grenada Cocoa Association, through funding and technical support from the Jeff Small Grants Program, officially unveiled their state-of-the-art solar wall drying system at the Moncton Cocoa Fermentary in St. Andrew. Minister of Agriculture and Lands, Honorable Yolande Bain Hosford, cut the ribbon to declare operations at the solar wall drying system open on Thursday, 30th January.
Pleasure is mine to declare this facility open.
With changing weather conditions in recent years, including heavy rains during traditionally dry seasons, the new equipment allows farmers to rely on more indoor artificial drying, in which air is heated and blown across the beans. This is welcomed news by the Ministry of Agriculture.
There is no denying that the advent of climate change requires of developing states like ours to build resilience, and this project is certainly part of this trust. The Ministry of Agriculture and Lands applaud the pioneers of this project, recognizing that the goal of this project seeks to increase Grenada's cocoa drying capacity in a clean, sustainable, cost-effective manner in order to create resilience against climate change.
This technology utilizes energy from the sun to produce heat as an alternative to burning hydrocarbons. The cooperative will benefit from an increased capacity and decreased fuel costs, according to its chairman, Mr. Christopher Williams. He says this will stabilize the funding source with which they can compensate farmers for their harvest. As a result, he announced an increase in the cocoa prices that will be paid to farmers by the association from Monday.
I want to thank those of you who were delegates at the meeting at Carlton when a decision was taken to reduce the price of cocoa by 25 cents. At the start of the cocoa crop this year, we increased the price by 10 cents. I am pleased to announce this morning that as from Monday morning, the price of cocoa will go back to $1.50 per pound.
The new equipment, he adds, will allow the association to provide a better product.
We are well on our way to the pursuit of projects that conserve biodiversity, restricted use of persistent organic pesticide, capacity building projects, and engage in climate change resilience projects. To this end, the solar drying system, Juve chocolate factory, crop insurance, renewable energy, the production of low cadmium cocoa, and restricted use of farm chemicals are some of our strengths as we go forward.
Chairman of the Jeff Small Grants National Steering Committee, Mr. Trevor Thompson, says the new equipment allows the GCA to make alterations to the entire process for Grenada's cocoa, added to offering an increased price to local farmers.
So the cost of production has been reduced, and these are the projects that we really want to see. It is bringing a change to the whole process. And the success of this initiative will ultimately reinvigorate the cocoa industry by creating a dependable marketplace for farmers. So you have no reason why you should not produce more cocoa now, and you should not increase your acreage that is under cocoa. The success of this initiative was not only reliant on the funding from the JEF program, but also on the ability of the GCA to implement this project.
The goal of the project, which costs $134,000 US, is to increase Grenada's cocoa drying capacity in a clean, sustainable, cost-effective manner in order to create resilience against climate change. The JEF funding will also be used to hire and train local workers in solar technology, installation, train station employees to run the system, and monitor the success of the new technology. For the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, I am Mina Booker.
Thank you, Mina. Finally, in the news, the Grenada National Brain Bee Challenge is once again on the way. The first zonal challenge was held on January 15th at the Anglican High School, securing spots for the Presentation Brothers College, Hillsborough Secondary, Westmoreland Secondary, and the St. Joseph's Convent, Grenville. The second zonal challenge was held on January 22nd, with 3 more schools entering the finals. We get more in this Annette Moore report.
4 schools emerged with finalists following Wednesday the 22nd's Brain Bee event. They were the St. David's Catholic Secondary School, represented by Shaniqua Smart, Wesley College, represented by Camille Barry and Donahue Bailey, Hillsborough Secondary School with Nzehi Williams, and the J.W. Fletcher Catholic Secondary School with Daisy Igawu. Shaniqua Smart placed first in the second zonal challenge, followed by Camille Barry and Nzehi Williams, who placed second and third place respectively.
Hello, I'm Shaniqua Smart. I go to SCCSS, St. David Catholic Secondary School, and I'm taking part in 2020 Brain Bee. I achieved first place today, and I'm feeling really excited, and I couldn't stop smiling when I heard it. I accomplished it due to the work of my teachers, Miss DeGale, Miss Santileg, and Miss Moses. They stayed back with me and helped me study with Brain B. They explained it to me, stuff I didn't understand, and made it seem easier. I want to thank my mom. She told me I could do it. I didn't believe her. I want also to thank my father too, and my teachers, as I also told you, Miss DeGale and Miss Santileg, and Miss Moses, and my friends. I really want to tell them thank you for encouraging me.
Shaniqua says the benefits of her preparation will last beyond the competition.
It has done a lot because most of the topics, some of the stuff we did in Brain B, we have to do it in Form 5, my teacher said. So it has really helped me a lot.
She also shared her future goals with us.
I want to do something involved with science. I love science subjects, especially biology.
Hi, I'm Camille Barry. I'm from Wesley College, Form 4, and I am taking part in the Grenada Brain B competition. I will be moving on to the next round, and I feel happy that I made it this far. Thank God for that. This year, I took part and I studied, and I listened, and I researched on my own to find answers. I'd like to thank Mr. Charles. He's the one who prepared me. Mr. Williams for always telling me to read a book, Miss St. Louis for always having faith in me, and every other teacher that gave me support.
Shaniqua and Camille also have advice for prospective participants.
Even though it's hard, you should study because it helps you out a lot. And you shouldn't run away from afternoon classes with your teachers to go over the book. It really helps you out a lot instead of doing it by yourself.
If you want to take part, you can either talk to a teacher, or in my case, a teacher will take you. And I will say prepare well and have faith in God, and He'll build you.
For the National Report, I'm Annette Moore.
That story just ended the National Report for today, Thursday, January 30th. Let's recap the top story. National Security Minister says police stations will benefit from infrastructural upgrade. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rikisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
I love my Grenada, my homeland forever. Sing the chorus louder, tell them about Grenada, the land of my grandfather. She will always prosper. Oh, my Grenada, land of peace and culture.
Pure Grenada, the small but beautiful and unspoiled tri-island state of Grenada, Carriacou and Petite Martinique is located in the Caribbean with a population of just about 100,000 people. Led by Eric Matthew Gary, Grenada got its independence in 1974 from Great Britain and had 7 prime ministers since independence. Keith Mitchell is the country's sitting prime minister and is also the longest-serving prime minister in Grenada's history. He is described as one of the most visionary, respected, and accomplished leaders in the world. The large majority of Grenadians are happy with his leadership, and in 3 national elections, the people have voted and gave his party an unprecedented clean sweep at the polls. Prime Minister Mitchell has guided Grenada through difficult periods such as the rebuilding process after the passage of Hurricane Ivan in 2004, and the rebuilding of the economy after 5 years of the NDC administration that ran 2008 to 2013. During that period, the NDC government became bankrupt and was unable to manage the economy. They had to resort to selling multiple government properties to the NIS to pay salaries of public workers. At no time during that period was any public officer able to get an increase in salary or increments owed to them. The NDC government was plagued with infighting and scandal. After just 2 years in office, the NNP government paid public officers increases and increments owed to them for the period 2009 to 2012 to the tune of $58 million. An additional 10% increase in salaries was paid for the period 2017 to 2019. A total of over $110 million was paid during these periods. Officers have been relieved from financial uncertainty as they have been receiving salaries on time every month thereafter. With support from social partners, government was also able to successfully implement a 3-year homegrown structural adjustment program. As a result of this remarkable leadership and ability to manage the economy, the World Bank, in 2018, recognized Prime Minister Mitchell as the most outstanding finance minister in the region. The country continues to move on an impressive upward trajectory and is promoted as a model destination and economy not merely in a regional but international basis, as investors have been finding Grenada to be a safe, peaceful and excellent climate to do business. But how is the NNP government seen locally? The party has been branded by the majority as a party for all that has transformed the economic landscape of the country while providing for the social needs of ordinary people, especially the poor and vulnerable. This social approach of the government has been attacked and labeled by the NDC for the needy and greedy. Although this labeling has angered many Grenadians across party lines and has attempted to sow seeds of discord among various socio-economic groupings, the NNP has remained steadfast in its philosophy and continues to support the poor and vulnerable. Over the last 7 years, over $70 million was spent on house repair. Additionally, 353 housing units were distributed to families throughout Grenada, and 647 more are currently under construction. Hundreds of scholarships are granted every year as a strategy to lift families out of poverty and to empower them. That is why the government spends more than $50 million every year to support Grenadian students studying at universities in Grenada and abroad. As a means of providing further support to families, government paid out over $17 million through the SEED program to assist parents to support their children's education and to meet the basic needs of senior citizens. The government plans to further expand its social programs in 2020 so more people can benefit. To be able to sustain these social programs while at the same time investing in major capital projects such as road enhancement and community development initiatives, government has adopted a multifaceted approach to raise revenue. One such means is the Citizens by Investment program, which has led to significant investment opportunities. This has had a ripple effect, resulting in thousands of jobs for locals and increased business for local companies. It has also reduced the need for increased taxes. In addition to the many projects already started, such as the Silver Sands Hotel, which opened about a year ago, at least 4 more hotels are earmarked to start construction work in St. Patrick's and St. David's. Projects that will rebound to significant benefits for people in the rural parishes, including farmers, fishermen, and the unemployed. This multi-pronged approach to economic development can explain why the government, on returning to the office, has been able to reduce unemployment figures from over 40% under the NDC in 2013 to 15.1% in the first quarter of 2019. Government's focus is now on developing a comprehensive training program to prepare people for thousands of jobs that are forthcoming. The government must be credited for a huge reduction in the national debt. During the 2008 election campaign, the NDC accused the NNP of incurring high national debt, but the NNP has always argued that the debt, which was incurred mainly for major government projects, is not the real issue. The party has explained that the most important issue regarding the national debt is the country's ability to repay its debts. With this philosophy in mind, government was able to successfully reduce the debt to GDP from 108% to 55.8% in just 7 years. This outstanding achievement provides additional room for government to create far more opportunities for the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. On November 19th, during his annual budget speech, Prime Minister Mitchell announced a $1.46 billion budget. One of the biggest focus of the government in this new budget will be to improve healthcare services. Already, millions have been committed to a national health insurance initiative, and JIPA, a US-based company led by a Grenadian, Dr. Kesterned, was contracted to lead the process. Responding to a recent video created by a foreign company, coordinated and marketed by opposition elements in Grenada, with the intention to destroy the reputation of Prime Minister Mitchell and to destabilize the government, key supporters of the ruling party say that it is unfortunate that opposition elements in the country will choose to put selfish ambitions and party politics before country, going out of the way to discredit the country internationally with lies and rumors. But Prime Minister Mitchell says his focus now is on building Grenada and providing opportunities for the people, and as a result, he will not allow himself to be drawn into an opposition's strategy aimed at derailing the success of the country. Despite the local party politics in Grenada, the tri-island state of Grenada, Carriacou and Petite Martinique continues to be a shining star in the region and a beacon of hope for the economic prosperity of the Caribbean region.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.